A very good afternoon to everyone present in this webinar. I welcome you all to the second day of our webinar on Majuli, India's cultural landscape of universal value. So to start now, I would like to welcome Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma to give his talk on bottleneck and remedies of Majuli as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So to begin with, I would like to give a small introduction of Dr. Sharma. Dr. Sharma was born in 1st November 1965 in Lakhimpur. Dr. Sharma has done his schooling from Lakhimpur as well and pre-university from Cotton College, as well as he has done his doctorate from Assam Agricultural University in 1995. Dr. Sharma has served as a member of parliament for 3 consecutive terms with effective from May 1996 to May 2009, representing Lakhimpur Lok Sabha, Assam. Specially took up the protection and development issue of Majuli Island at a national and international level and secured preliminary recognition of World Heritage Site from UNESCO. He has widely traveled and gained experience in number of socio-political and scientific fields, including the impact of alarming rate of global warming. He has been founder chairman of NGO Majuli Island Protection and Development Council since 1996. Sir, I would like to invite you to give your talk on this topic.
Presenting on behalf of the Dr. Sharma. So may I be permitted to share my screen?
Sure, sir. You can share your screen.
Yes, sir. You can share your screen now.
You want to share this? Okay, thank you very much for organizing this very desired webinar to discuss a very important issue of the country. All of us are aware about the importance, the significance of Majuli's heritage, which has been already recognized by the United Nations UNESCO's World Heritage Committee. Looking at its cultural heritage in a serene natural environment, living cultural heritage continued for more than 500 years, completely isolated from the other influences. People are dedicated with the spirituality and culture, and it's a different kind of lifestyle, which convinced the UNESCO World Heritage Committee to give the preliminary recognition by sanctioning $20,000 US in the year 2001. Because Majuli's uniqueness as a riverine deltoid island, mid-river deltoid island, and inhabited by a population of more than 1.5 lakhs, and have a distinct cultural heritage. This itself is unique to establish the universal outstanding credibility of this island. In addition to that, the World Heritage Committee sought for a specific dossier because the entire issue of World Heritage nomination for Majuli Island was initiated by the Majuli Island Protection and Development Council. This NGO was formed in 1996, and after this formation, within a year, it has taken stock of the data available in the Majuli, so that it can be corroborated in the form of a dossier. So first, dossier was prepared by nomination proposal was prepared by this MIPADC and submitted through the government of Assam in the year 1997. And 98, the government of Assam, the chief minister, his initiative, the proposal was sent to government of India, the HRD ministry. The HRD ministry referred it to because the initial proposal was for natural and cultural, both component was given. But the HRD ministry told that it will be more fit for a natural site. Then the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India, it has made the initial survey, and then the formal request to UNESCO was made with a budgetary proposal of $15,000 US. And in the year 2001, the World Heritage Committee sanctioned $20,000, and the nomination was prepared by the Archaeological Survey of India with the help of Assam government, and in which the Majuli Island Protection and Development Committee council was fully associated with all kind of processes. But the initial dossier did not go through because in absence of a government's assurance that the government of Assam had to declare this island as a protected area. Unless the concerned stakeholder is not giving this guarantee of this is a protected site, how the world community will come and say that it is a world property. So in that case, the government of Assam has enacted the law for the Cultural Landscape Management Act. But it was very late. The enactment was very late. That rightly pointed out by our Saikia, the secretary of the association. And then some of the points were referred by the World Heritage Committee. Certain additional information was sought in addition to that a legal entity by the government of Assam or the government of India. So these were the specific assurance required that the island will be protected, because the erosion was a very alarming from long time. The island has suffered from the erosion from Brahmaputra, and the UNESCO has to be assured that the government of India and the government of Assam will take adequate measures to protect the island. No doubt some of the steps were taken by the government, both the governments, but still the UNESCO has to be convinced now that there will be existence of the island for a long time, so that it is continued as a World Heritage Property. And second assurance that it will have the sustainability, that to have that heritage continued, so they need economic support, so that for want of any economic upliftment or economic support, the maintenance of the heritage is diminished. So in that case, the UNESCO asked for preparing a management plan, how the government is going to support the continuation of the heritage property and also the heritage of the people, the living heritage, cultural heritage of the island. So these are the points, and also many other informations about some inventory of the sutras, of the specific database to be submitted to the UNESCO, and also some other information about this buffer zone. So all the requirements has to be fulfilled by the stakeholders. The stakeholders is mainly Government of Assam, and also the other stakeholders of the people of Majuli, and all the organizations who are have influence in the island, including sectoral institutions. They are the stakeholders. Now it is after a long time, because even 2012, the proposal was deferred due to certain lapses. And the first nomination, the MIPADC was fully associated, but in the second and third, the ASI deployed some of the consultants, 2 consultants in both the occasions, and they have initial consultation with MIPADC, but subsequently, while submitting the final dossier, they have no link with the stakeholders. So in that case, the lapses were there. So in 2012, it is again referred for further details. So anyway, the Majuli's nomination is not dismissed, but it is still in there. So it is good to hear yesterday the Government of Assam has again re-established the link with the World Heritage Committee to either in the form of dossier, because it was not very clear yesterday's deliberation from Ms. Borkakoti. So anyway, if we all the stakeholders get to know what is the present status, that will be good for all of us. And I must thank the ICOMOS India chapter and the Northeast Regional Center to have this deliberation, so that we can sensitize the Government of Assam. The bottlenecks, what I have seen from the beginning, our proposals has suffered due to lack of proper lobbying. At the end of the meeting of the World Heritage Committee in various places of the world, what happened? Our representatives, mostly the Government of India's either secretary or somebody, they just represented without knowing much of the subject, and they cannot convince the experts there. And also their lobbying was very late. Although our commission, our missions there has to work, but these kind of feedbacks were not properly given. So in that case, we could not convince the nations who can support our cause. In that case, we lost the opportunity. And now, in the same circumstances, because it was good that we came to know that the Government of Assam has again re-established the link. So in that case, this time, at least we must doubly ensure that the proper lobbying is done. Some of the countries, they start lobbying 15 days before, 1 month before, with the member countries. Now we have a greatest opportunity of this time, because our Prime Minister Modi ji has been the chairman of the G20 countries for a term. So this is a best opportunity, very good opportunity for all of us to get through this Majuli's nomination dossier first.
Yes, sir. Sorry for the interruption. Can we just go with the presentation, because the PPT is ready, and then for the sake of the other participants and the August gathering, maybe we may actually just give the whole presentation also.
Sir, but then I would like to remind you that you are left with very less time. So even if you want to show
Okay,
them,
yeah. There are only hardly few slides.
Yes, no issue, sir. But just finish it in mention.
I'll keep it in mind.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Please. These are the images of the first nomination, and then this was from the letter actually assuring submission of the nomination to the UNESCO. I think members can read it out through, I suppose, or otherwise I can just
Yes, sir. I think it's very much readable. So you can quickly go through the
quickly go through.
slides.
Yeah, that would be better, I suppose. Maybe moderator can, ma'am, you can just give a note to skip to this next slide if you are through for the reading.
So here we have to be more specific that the why in 2012 the Majuli's nomination was referred back to the state party in order to, number one, assemble more information on the Satras remaining on the island and on the way they have influenced and continue to influence landscape patterns and the overall interaction between the other question not clear.
Wait, I'll just put it down.
Okay.
Between people and nature in Majuli and further afield. Create an inventory of architecture and spatial patterns in the landscapes associated with the Satras and their movable heritage. C. Put in place legal protection. D. Amplify the management plan to take account of the specific nature of Satra landscapes and buildings, the interrelationship between people and nature, the potential for traditional farming practices to sustain biodiversity, the need to codify traditional knowledge, the conservation and development of traditional architecture, a cultural tourism strategy and approaches to sustainable development. Undertake an appraisal of the overall river basin in which Majuli lies and the potential impact of climate change in order to ascertain the chances or ascertain the chances of the island surviving in the medium term.
Sorry to interrupt in between, sir. Sir, actually, you have already taken surplus time. So can we just end this presentation with a quick summary?
I'll just read out this. These are the actual issues where the next dossier has to be focused on. Develop and implement a risk preparedness strategy. G, carefully consider the impact of the proposed bridges on the special characteristics of the Majuli cultural landscape. 3, encourages the state party to produce an inventory of flora and fauna of the site with particular emphasis on threatened and endangered species, so that species that may be protected as a result of local management practices. Majuli, as a World Heritage Site, it's bottleneck. These are the bottlenecks that already Dr. Sarma has mentioned about.
The lack of strong political will in the post 2012 to pursue and complete the process of Majuli's nomination as per the World Heritage Committee requirements. So that is a very important issue. It was the bottlenecks, one of the major bottlenecks which has hindered our achievement. Then non-engagement of a dedicated and responsible independent team who is thoroughly educated on the process of World Heritage nominations for effective coordination. Because presently there are 3 entities, Chief Secretary, then Upper Assam Commissioner and the DC Majuli. Now they are full-timer on the government issues. Now for the World Heritage, there should be an independent entities who can constantly coordinate with the all activities. Otherwise, this achievement is not possible. The next, inadequacy of lobbying at international forums that I have already spelled out. So what is to be done now? What will be the remedies? So number 1, sensitizing the government of Assam to take up Majuli's nomination on a priority basis by fulfillment of all the requirements as conveyed by World Heritage Committee, as we have discussed now. And secondly, immediate deployment of a team of full-time experts to pursue at all levels. And thirdly, that about our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, who is holding the presidency of G20 nations. He has already resumed the charge. So we must have a rapport with his office so that this can be pursued. But before that, we have to get our full preparedness to convince the World Heritage Center. Because lobbying is very easy now. It's a good opportunity for all of us. And also, there is one more bottleneck which has to be remedied, that the Majuli Cultural Landscape Management Authority, which has to sit like yesterday, Professor Dambarudhar has already pointed out, that, and also Professor Barkakuti, that it has never sit, because it has sit twice or thrice in a year. And MIPADC is a part of the management committee. But in the last 10 years, there is no such meeting has held and no initiative has taken place. So this has another issue, that if the management authority is not active, UNESCO will come to know. They have their own mechanism to find out what is what. So we must have to make this Cultural Landscape Management Authority of Majuli should be proactive and fully functional entity. And next, to develop and adopt a self-sustaining economic model to convince the World Heritage Committee about the sustainability of this Majuli's heritage. So these are the major bottlenecks and the remedies for which I was requested for having this presentation. And the detailed presentation will be available to everybody, because initially there was some problem with the presentation. Anyway, thank you all of you well, all the concern of everybody, including Professor Nalini Thakur, there, who is very keen to push this issue again and to relook on this issue. And the Majuli, she has visited and as an expert 2-3 occasions. So I look forward for all the experts and well-wishers of Majuli. Let this dream of Majuli, people of Majuli, come into the reality. This is the operation moment, and the ICOMOS, the India chapter and the Northeastern chapter, I must thank you, congratulate you that you have taken a good initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your such an interesting presentation. Now moving on, I'd like to request Nalini ma'am. Professor Nalini Thakur is going to give a talk on public relation on Majuli, mass communication and its reaction. So before ma'am starts, I would like to give a brief introduction about ma'am to the rest of the people. Professor Nalini Thakur, she is a former Dean of Studies, School of Planning and Architecture, and also the former head of the Department of Architectural Conservation at School of Planning, New Delhi, over 40 years. Over a long time, she has contributed in developing the master program of architecture conservation in emerging disciplines. She has also worked in many pioneering projects like St. James Churches, then also Mehroli Archaeological Park in Delhi. She has played a very major role in preparation of nomination dossier and management plans for World Heritage Sites Khajuraho, Champaner and Majuli as well. She has also prepared the integrated management plan for Hampi World Heritage Site. She is also working for the government of Manipur for the conservation of Kangla Fort as an archaeological park. So with this, I would like to welcome Nalini ma'am to give us a talk on public relation on Majuli. Ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk here. And I'm really happy that, that ICOMOS with him, with his leadership has actually, because we had to bring out Northeast and we, in our ICOMOS activities. And this year being the 50th anniversary of the World Heritage Convention and the 75th year of our independence. So, there was a slot for Northeast, and this is the second program on Northeast, and I'm really happy that, and it is on Majuli, and I think it is very important that it's here. And thank you very much, and I enjoyed yesterday. Now let me start with my presentation. Let's have the second one. Second slide, please. How do I know? I want the second slide. To tell you, I did not understand what public relations on Majuli and its reactions or whatever. I was very, really thinking about what it is about. And then what I can now say is we need good relations on Majuli and responsible reactions. Then along with that, we can add the word dissemination, education. Because, a site like Majuli actually is a big paradigm shift. And it is not, taking something to what is at UNESCO and whether they like it, like some school, they say yes, good, not good. It's not like that. It is about us. It is a big thing for us. And so that is what we should focus on. And it is a big paradigm shift. And so that should be the first, most important. And it's about forming good relations and responsible reactions. Next one, please. And I would like to make one point here is that this whole thing about this 20th century new world order with having, intergovernmental agencies like UNESCO, is that, you're actually after the World War, I mean, the whole European countries were really in a bad way. And for them, it really meant that they wanted to have this worldwide, kind of worldwide power and worldwide agencies, which for very important things for humanity. Okay, now that has gone a long way from there, and I think it's also time to rethink this. Just imagine, never in the world before has anyone thought about having the same rules, uniformity for the whole world. Normally a king will think for his kingdom, when British people thought for their own or whatever empire. So it was all sort of, very limited and getting larger as spatially. But to think about so many different governments are going to come together. So I think we all, as the people of the world, have to look into it and work together for this. Only then it is going to be successful. So, I just, and now after so many years, we should. And so we can, we should be, that is something is becoming part of our everyday life. Everyday thinking, especially for World Heritage and Heritage, because it was not there earlier. So, it has a lot of implications about what is our, policy, what is our protection, what are we doing about heritage in our country, how is it vis-a-vis what is there, what World Heritage is asking us. So there is a lot of differences which we have to look into. So next one, please. Yeah. So I will start the history of the making of this dossier and a few words on MIPADC, because that's been a very important organization for us when we were working on this. But I will actually start with 1995, when our students in the master's program of architectural conservation in SPA, Surojit Jaradara from Assam, actually took up this Majuli as a thesis, and did a very good job. And it was seen as a cultural landscape, cultural traditions, and it in the way, very much the way the dossier is being done, and it has what we the cultural landscape thinking. Okay, but so that, and I think that point there is that I think at that point we had education, institutions of education also thinking along the same line that is required as the development of heritage is going on in the international scene and everywhere. So that's why it was possible for me and him to be part of this group. Otherwise I don't think we could have been part of this group. So a little bit I must tell you about this background of this, because in 1996 there was a lot of inaction in general and authorities in particular, and a huge delegations of Satradikas of Majuli actually went. I don't know what is this. I have lost this. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the background of it, and it really, Dr. Arun Sharma knows more about it, because we have got all this information from him also about how very early in the 90s itself, is that, a minister, that all these Satradikas went to see the ministers, and, they went to Delhi and met the minister, and then because they were concerned about Majuli, because it was getting washed away because of the Brahmaputra, and so and that is when the minister suggested that maybe an NGO should be created, and that will work constantly for this public government partnership for saving the island from extinction. So that is the way, and Dr. Arun Sharma was a parliamentarian, and there were meetings in his house when this whole MIPADC was born. And it was, and then started working, and so that is one thing I wanted to tell you. and he was the founding chairman, and some local legislator was its working chairman. And over the years, MIP ADC has made efforts to further the cause of preservation of Majuli Island under the dynamic leadership of Dr. Sarma, and was persuaded to then nominate Majuli as a World Heritage Site under Culture and Natural category. The idea of nominating Majuli as a World Heritage Site, I believe, was mooted by this late Sanjay Ghosh. If you remember, this man, this social worker, was working in Majuli, who suddenly disappeared, and it was a shocking very shocking at that time, that this man was just disappeared, and he never came back, and most probably killed. Now, next one, please. I just want to tell you, because that time when we started working, or the background of it, there's a lot of transparency, at that point. You find that former Secretary of Culture, Gopalaswamy, and Dr. ASI, DG ASI, both visited Majuli, and they were very convinced and moved by the whole, by the environment and the traditions that were still alive. And they were actually very, they sort of agreed that this nomination has to happen, as a cultural property. It must be mentioned that in the year 1998, MIPADC had sent a dossier through the Ministry of Environment and Forest to UNESCO, but that was drafted by its members, but for a natural and mixed site. And I think you saw the picture of that dossier also, the dossier, which was the first attempt at the preservation of both the natural attributes and its diverse culture. But I think over time, when we got into the scene, the IUCN was actually thinking that Majuli deserves to be in World Heritage. Maybe it is not a natural or mixed site. It is more of a cultural site. So that is what was felt by UNESCO, that cultural landscape was an appropriate, category, and another attempt was requested for. It is the untiring and persuasion of the MIPADC that initiated the government of India to nominate Majuli as a UNESCO, as a World Heritage Cultural Landscape in 2004. And MIPADC efforts have brought in other institutional supports as well. A study for the perspective plan for the development of Majuli was also done by some Northeast Development Agency without distorting its ecological and cultural balance, was commissioned for Majuli. So I just want to tell you some of the things that have been done for Majuli so early. MIPADC has offices in Majuli, Guwahati, and New Delhi. And at our time, we made Dr. Rajiv Lochan Pegu the local MLA of the Legislative Assembly, who was the working, chairman of the organization also. But he was also the main chairman of the management thing that we had made in our legislation for Majuli. Actually, we made a legislation, but that was not passed till, but was not passed, and I don't know when it was passed, because what we have said in the legislation is not in the legislation that is shown, that is there today, that is being followed today. I'll come to that later. So MIPADC conducted many things. So I think the next point I really want to make is that this dossier was actually a very participatory approach was followed in the preparation of the Majuli dossier. This point has to be stressed, and this dossier was truly participatory, with MIPADC constituting representing the local community, and the dossier was also initiated by them. I think that is where this is quite different, totally different from other dossiers. nomination dossier, the nomination dossier enabled a impressive range of studies from different disciplines with outputs from variety of experts and resource persons from the state of Assam. Notable in this is the high level of talent and expertise available locally in the state. The manner by which people rallied and came forward for the Majuli nomination dossier is proof of its importance and significance today. Apart from those involved from their official capacity, there were others of the Assamese regional and local community groups that also participated. It is important to take note of this because the quality and integrity of the participation and the team has experienced, which has paved the way for a truly participatory management process for the management for the Majuli Cultural Landscape region. Our job as trained experts was to facilitate the management process within the constitutional provisions for decentralization. So that is what we have done, in the management plan in the dossier that we submitted. Next one, please. Here, I just want to show you two things about to show you what this place is. We saw some very nice pictures shown by Sanjeev ji yesterday, which showed, the fields, and then he talked about, even the rice beer and, a lot of things. But yes, those were, demonstrations and sort of exhibits. But if you want to understand what is the knowledge that is in this, which the local people have, that enables us to understand and appreciate the kind of quality and diversity in the various contents and food and everything that is there, which is far more than what we have in other more developed parts of the country. So it is there, that is really where the whole, the crux of the matter is, that for authenticity and integrity is we have to know how to get to the point to start understanding all these things. Next one, please. Yeah, I'm going to give for the authenticity and integrity, the way I'm presenting it is as keywords. First, one has to look at this, the whole Majuli island from a cultural perspective and from community knowledge systems. Then you start with values, significance, authenticity, integrity. These are what we all use and we try to assess, identify, recognize on the site. And only when it reaches to outstanding universal values, this can go as World Heritage. Because all these values, they're all there in every site, but those with outstanding universal values. Now, we have also adopted in our dossier simple steps of survey, study, analysis, assessment to establish the outstanding universal values. Then, that we did. But then afterwards, when you start operationalizing this, the whole system, the paradigm gets different. It needs a new methodology and new education and implementing the above, to implement the above, and we have to get into how to protect the whole site effectively and how a management system that we have to figure out and develop. Only then can we handle this whole Majuli properly. So that's what I'm going to say. And this is not something that can be said in 15 minutes flat. So I'm just pointed out the keywords. So each one is a long thing. So here is another picture. So here, how it is the connection or the relationship between nature, the forest, the trees and the knowledge among the people how to understand it and use it as residences and parts of buildings and all that, and this kind of knowledge actually comes over a long period of time, and that it has, I don't know, I am 20 years out of date here, so I don't know how much of it is still there. It's possible, but we need to respect this kind of traditional knowledge, and we need to identify, we need to hold it, and also help. In that case, in our planning, we will have to actually put more trees like that is wanted. So it sort of has that kind of impact on the way we think about the future of Majuli, and we have to put it all together. Only then you will you will manage to, you will do the needful. Otherwise, it's going to be just talking, and this kind of something standing up in the thing, and it's got all this roof. So how now? So the whole challenge of how to see that these can be there for people to choose, so that they can do that if they want to. And what is it in our management that enables these things is what I want to point out. Next one, please. So, by the way, I am very surprised that there is a point about not having legal something, because that is not correct. The legal thing was done, and it is also there in the dossier itself, and the legislation is there. It is a very important legislation, and it is a Majuli Cultural Landscape Region Bill. So we are looking at it on one level as a cultural landscape, and on another level as a region beyond cultural landscape. So both, there are two, because the region is a buffer zone, the landscape is a core zone. So I don't understand how that has come as one of the points that has not been done, which we have done, So, either the people who spoke to these UNESCO people did not know anything about it, had not read anything. I don't know, and I'm quite, I'm a bit distressed that this kind of thing can happen. We have a law, and this is following the law, because we had one of the best lawyers of India to be our advisor in this. So, I mean, this can be defended very well, because we have followed the way to do this law. I mean, what we have done, we have only the difference now we have done is we have put in the development of a management system. The law focus is on the ground resources, both cultural and natural, embedding the values. These cultural and natural resources of the land embeds the values, authenticity and integrity. That is why the law has to identify and name that. So that is a very different kind of law than we ever had in anywhere else in the country. Then what was said to be the organization to take care of this Majuli site, cultural landscape, was called a consortium. That was the recommended organization, and the name of that recommended organization for safeguarding Majuli. You understand now that this is not an authority like a colonial world. How we can't go to our, our friends who are communities in the land where we are taking care of, looking after, safeguarding, and call ourselves authority. So it was not called authority, it was called consortium. So it is there in the law that has been written in the dossier which nobody has read. So now, how has it, now everybody is talking about authority of the Majuli landscape. And when you say this landscape and region, one is a, what is that called? One is a, buffer zone, and one is the other zone. So we have put it and we marked it. Okay, the plan, then it needs a plan, because you have a law and then you have to have a plan in which all these things come together. That will enable things to happen in this Majuli, to take it into the future and all the operationalize all the activities. Integrated management plan will be an article in the law that enables implementation, monitoring, and high standards, and also empowers the entire community to participate within the legal framework created. Local site office is required, and it requires a qualified site manager. And that is what I thought Surojit Jaradra would become in 1995 when he did that, the thesis on Majuli. I was actually training and preparing a site manager for the site. Then nothing has been done. Then funding. Funding is also required, and this funding, we don't want funding from anywhere else. I think whatever are the responsible, activities that are required for running this place or taking care of this place, managing the responsible activities have to be funded by the state government or the central government, and all the other so that they have all this, the responsible activities, what is that? Survey, and then inventories and all these things are very important, and they have to be kept within the site office also. Okay, and then those should be funded by the government, and it will be there, and they will all the time be utilized, improved, changed. That will make it a dynamic to help that site to go on. So, that is also not there. And activities, planning, deciding, implementing, monitoring, the whole process, all that comes within this legal, whatever we have done, that all has to, but it has to be discussed. It cannot be given like a ready-made thing, that you get, and you just take it and, and the government can just whatever, do what it wants. No, it has to be discussed. These are very important, governance issues. Governance thing that has to be discussed. Adding regulations and guidelines as part of the legal system, we have also tried to add that. So let's see the next one. The next slide, please. Yeah. So I am just giving you one page to be introduced in this Assam State Legislative Assembly, and this was the 2003. This bill was made by us. Okay. And till we went to that, when Majuli did not, it was not passed when it went first time. That much we know, for some reason. That was in 2006. So this was the thing. Consortium is the name of the responsible agency to protect and manage Majuli. So the next one. Next. Yeah, so I'm just giving you a little bit about in the management system, what are the different things we have looked at as focus for. I told you all the resources that are there on the ground, which have value, which are important, for, so those are the things that come into this specific, kind of legislation. And then this is for the funding, and then for the monitoring. Okay, and so then you have plans for the cultural landscape region. Okay, next, please, next. Yeah. So here is the picture of your slide of what is landscape. The cultural landscape is a whole island, and the cultural region. The cultural region. Now the cultural region will be done by some planning people, because that is part, and because it is part of the state jurisdiction. And the line that we have drawn is covers some villages completely, and we have given this. It is there in that same dossier also. Unless somebody asks you, these things cannot be just guessed or something. They are very new things. It's the first time in India that the buffer zone has been shown somewhere. So I really regret that this UNESCO has written that. Or maybe they did not write for, they did not mean for the 2006, because there have been others also. They've been writing a lot of things, So that is the thing. We looked at what was for us. I never found this actually. Okay, so this is how. More than that, I cannot tell you in these little talks. We have to sit and discuss very seriously, and a lot of ideas will be discussed, and we will find a way we'll find a way to take care and how to look after, safeguard Majuli and maintain and its traditions, its sacredness, etc. Next one. Yeah, thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much for such an enlightening presentation, ma'am. Along with that, I would also like to request all the people who are present in this meeting to put their queries in the chat box, so we can address those questions later on in the question answer session later. Moving on, I'd like to now introduce our next speaker. But then before introducing the next speaker, I would also like to ask if Dr. Ananda Hazarika is here in the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sir, we have already introduced you. So if you are comfortable, then you can present your topic right now.
Yeah, already Honorable Dr. Arun Sarma has told all about the tagging Majuli as a World Heritage nomination and dossier. So,
Okay, sir, do you want me to share your presentation to rest of the people?
Yes, sir. Madam?
Do you want me to share your presentation because it is with me?
You
Okay.
can.
Okay, sir. On your behalf, I'm sharing the presentation. Just give me a second.
Thank you.
ICOMOS, please enable the screen sharing because it has been disabled. Sir, I have shared your screen. Is it visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
Before going to speak about the cultural socio-economic profile of Majuli, tagging of Majuli as a World Heritage Site, I would like to speak about Majuli Island in brief. So first, I will tell the Majuli, acknowledged as one of the largest inhabited river island in the world, where different tribes and communities living together with a rich traditional culture. It is situated between 26 degree 45 minutes north to 27 degree 12 minutes north latitude and 93 degree 39 minutes east to 94 degree 35 minutes east longitude. Prior to 1950, the total area of Majuli was 1,256 square kilometers. Majuli is home to about 2 lakh people now. There are several subcultures of Vaishnavite religious creed. So next, I want to I will tell about this socioeconomic profile, cultural and socioeconomic profile. Majuli has a distinction of being one of the largest inhabited river islands of the world. Its geographical locations is very significant. There might be other larger river islands than Majuli, but differences are easily marked. The inhabitants of Majuli have been traditionally fighting, enduring, and enjoying the cyclic changes of nature's wrath and rapture since the inception of human habitation in it. A very unique living culture has evolved due to dynamic interaction with religious satras, local organizations, diverse ethnic groups, and their customary laws, which were set in symbiotic harmony with the natural resources, hereby making it perhaps the only such example in the world. Next, till the first decade of 21st century, Majuli remains as an industrially pollution-free zone where peace and tranquility prevail around the year. Srimanta Shankardev, during 16th century, selected Majuli as the best place for earning spiritual and religious knowledge. Here still, the visitors from home and abroad enjoy safely and feel safe and secure to move around the island. Mornings in Majuli start with the churring sound of indigenous and migratory birds in different seasons along with the sounds of songs and cymbals at the Satra and village langas of entire Majuli. Majuli, a sacred island comprising religion-based cultural, artistic, and ritual practices, has a compelling quality of coherence that cannot be seen in any other island. 64 Satras flourished in Majuli after the historic union Monikan Son Sanjuk of Saint Shankar with Madhav at Majuli's Jorhat Belaguri during 1546. There are 36 Satras in Majuli at present, with vibrant living culture traditions and preserving the 15th century Vaishnava legacies in origin forms for the last 500 years. According to Dr. H. Guhai, and a well-known Assamese scholar, every Satra has a rich treasure house of valuable articles, books, and works of art. It was thus the basic of fountainhead of distinctive Assamese culture. Majuli has a national festivals devoted to celebration of different phases of Sri Krishna's Leela, like Ras, Deul, or Nandutsav, with the people of entire island, as well as the pilgrims and devotees entertained by the bhavanas for days together. There are also observed grave occasions in every Satradikar's date anniversaries, removed founders and notable leaders of the sect called Tithi. In other words, the Satra also used the function as a rudimentary university, combining training in arts and learning as well as the practical arts. Besides being the center of Vaishnava culture, the island is also enriched with colorful cultural customs, traditional rites and rituals of ethnic tribes living in social harmony for last centuries, turning to it land for unity of diversity. Majuli is traditionally known as a place of inorganic manure free land. In introductory statement of the nomination dossier submitted in 2006, it was rightly stated that due to the unique location of foot of the Northeast Himalayas, a geologically volatile region, the torrential waters of the untamed Brahmaputra, along with tributaries, bring it large-scale sediments and deposits, causing a unique natural geohydromorphological formation around the island. The river waters, almost annual, provide natural fertility to its land, and there is enough opportunity to compensate the damaged crops for floods in summer with alternative cultivators in winter. Majuli obtains a special position in production of paddy, mustard, varieties of pulses, potato, sugarcane, garlic, and other vegetables. The deep blocked river channels, spills, natural pools in the mainland area have become centers for breeding and sporting ground of local birds and fishes. On the other hand, the wild grasses and crops of the braided shores facilitate the cattle and buffalo farmings. It symbolizes the pattern of coexistence of man with nature. The bounties of nature are also the sources of economic basis of its inhabitants. The inhabitants of Majuli project their socio-economic, socio-cultural programs according to the nature settings, subject to the changes in its environment as envisaged by Brahmaputra and tributaries. The Brahmaputra governs the lifestyle of our inhabitants. This living style is quite an outstanding example that has been sustained there despite the regular vagaries of nature. The resilience of the people of Majuli after monsoon floods and continuing the cultural practices represent unique example of harmonious coexistence with nature. The traditional cottage industries of pottery, The handicrafts of cane and bamboos in Satra institution, customary dresses of tribal weavers, Satra manuscripts and sculptures, the mask making and country boat making in Satras and other professional villages of Majuli are important traditions found alive in Majuli. So these are the concerned socio-economic profile. Then I want to speak something about the preface regarding the World Heritage Site. Though Honorable Dr. Arun had already told all the things elaborately, I want to highlight some points with my view. Before the idea of taking Majuli as a World Heritage Site got any momentum, MIPADC, a voluntary organization headed by former MP Dr. Arun Kumar Sarma, taken some initiatives for protection of Majuli Island. Let Sanjay Ghosh NGO Collaboratively arrive Majuli to work towards the socio-economic development of Majuli. Prevention of soil erosion, self-employment of the youth are here, and certain other development issues. Receiving approval from the state government, MIPADC submitted memorandum to the ministers concerned of the central government, claiming the World Heritage title for Majuli on September 13 and November 6, 1996 respectively. As there was no such provision within the central government mechanism to render the declaration, the issue had been treated separately for consideration. Significantly, Aberdeen focused the issue in national media by powerful way. E.F. Muller, a river expert from South America, had reached Majuli on the invitation of then Governor of Rotary International of Assam, Dr. Narayan Datta. As a result of such united efforts, the Archaeological Department India forwarded the matter of taking Majuli of the one of the World Heritage Sites to UNESCO on 19th January 2000. A tentative nomination dossier, Majuli was placed at UNESCO by MIPADC under the aegis and supervision of both state and central governments. As a consequence, UNESCO granted an aid of $20,000 American for observation and preparation of detailed dossier to match the criteria of the heritage dimensions. For the purpose, ASI engaged Mr. Surojit Joradara, architect, research scholar, and consultant group of ASI under Nalini Thakur for preparation of the dossier. It is learned that the heritage dignity is conferred in different tangible and intangible properties of our civilization, like monuments, sites, living patterns of socio-cultural life, agriculture, and other exclusively ancient traditions of the world which need preservation. So I want to say on review, one, on receiving the proposal of Government of India, the World Organization, the initial inquiry at Majuli from 30th November to 20th December 2000 by the Asia Pacific Group member Angel Hart. Number two, following the approval of Angel Hart, Sartarika Dr. Pitambari Goswami participated in the Cultural Heritage Management Workshop held at Lijiang in China from 8 to 18, 2001. Number three, after Angel Hart on 12, 13, and 18 February 2002, Bruce Jeffrey, the representative from UNESCO, reached Majuli and made a field survey on the basis of the report UNESCO with a view to advancing the process for survey. $2,000 American was granted to MIPADC. So for the material survey, the Director General of Archaeology, Government of India, the Secretary of Central Government visited Majuli. They suggested MIPADC to prepare dossiers with the UNESCO's financial assistance. On 1st February 2003, the Archaeological Department of Government of India submitted the dossiers, leaving more than 100 pages at the Principal Office of UNESCO. On 1st April 2003, the Assam Assembly declared Majuli culturally safe region, approving the proposal Majuli Cultural Landscape Region. Obtaining nomination, the technical advisor of the World Heritage Committee, IFD member, ICOMOS started observation on the island on 23rd and 24th November 2005. Then on 2nd March 2008, the Heritage Committee includes Majuli nomination paper into examinational category and directed the ICOMOS to look into various pieces. Though the Heritage Committee considered a nomination for approval on 30 2006, Vilnius Convention, that consideration stopped at the advice of ICOMOS. As they written in an article by Dr. Dayananda Thakur, ICOMOS was satisfied with the dossier sent to UNESCO. The article was that defects in Majuli heritage. The ICOMOS was not clear about the geographical existence, structures, biodiversity, geographical protection, etc., and suggested further clarity. Accordingly, on 31st January 2008, the nomination paper was submitted with addition of 500 pages. The representative of the ICOMOS was satisfied with the addition, but it did not agree to the case of Majuli protection and many other details of subdraw. From July 2nd to 10th, 2008, 32th convention held at Quebec in Canada of World Heritage Committee, the nomination was not accepted and postponed. The ICOMOS asked center and state to give detailed account of the subdraws, island and flood of the valley, erosion protection, etc. In 2008, after Quebec Convention, ICOMOS advice center got to modify the nomination paper.
Sir, sorry to interrupt in between. Sir, can you please summarize it because you have already exceeded your time?
No, already I have finished. Just one line.
Yeah, sure.
Done for no nomination paper could be submitted in 33rd, 2009 in a Spain Convention. So this is my all about. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have finished my paper.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, moving on now, I would like to introduce our next guest or the speaker. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, our next speaker is Professor GSP Suryanarayana Murthy. Murthy sir is a practicing conservation architect. He is presently working as a professor of architecture in JBR College of Architecture, Hyderabad. He is an independent consultant in the field of architecture, conservation, planning, and urban planning. He is specialized in documenting the Indian traditional building and historical building knowledge system. He is currently the South Zone representative of ICOMOS India. He is also the coordinator of NSC on Cultural Landscape of ICOMOS India. Recently, in July 2021, under his leadership, has got the recognition of UNESCO World Heritage status of Kakatiya Rudraeshwara Ramappa Temple, Palampet, Telangana, India, and he is also appointed by the Department of Culture, Tourism and Government of Telangana for that. I'd like to welcome sir for giving his talk on experience of dossier status of Majuli nomination. Sir, the stage is on yours.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, sir, your screen is visible.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I have been following on this topic, and as presented by the facts of the site, I will not take much time because we are running out of time, and my presentation So the facts
Sir,
of the,
your voice is breaking. Probably if you just switch off your video, it will work better.
so is it fine now?
Yeah, sir, it's better.
Okay. So I will not go into many of the details and the facts of the site, which have been already presented by Dr. Ananda Hazarika and Professor Nalini Thakur and Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma. I will not go into those details, and I would like to just point out one of the important aspects mentioned by Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma on the dossier preparation, and Professor Nalini Thakur, what she has mentioned about the current dossier and participate systems of the community and people. When you are knowing the image of the place, what is the identity of the place, what is the outstanding universal value identity with which people operate, people have been operating. So the title for the original dossier prepared by Professor Nalini Thakur contained cultural landscape and living traditions. So when I prepared the dossier, I tried to maintain this fundamental I try to emphasize on this both ecological as cultural system. Is a study of human also looks at nature as part of integral to the whole systems. So this model was 12 nomination dossier. It is meant by inclusive and converging approach. I will not whatever that has been already mentioned by Dr. Ananda Hazarika, Professor Dambarudhar yesterday, and Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma, and Dr. Ananda Hazarika. And now today, this is a district. Majuli is a district now. Earlier, it was a part of Jorhat district. There was a selection committee in 2010 which has prepared this nomination dossier in 2010. They have asked, and immediately I wrote a letter to 21 Satras, district administration, subdivisional officer, chief executive officer, so that during 2011, local people, and during May of the year 2011, there was this participant and Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Bakopati, and there was a team constituted. They have gone through this, and all the documents were shown, and with all this consultative approach, this was submitted. So what was highlighted in this whole presentation was this out only the first, these 2 points of Majuli by its cross-cultural ethnic diversity, its religious ethos, and the ability island to adapt their existence system over centuries. And human as well as material based hub of Assam for centuries. And this was also highlighted by Dr. Dambarudhar yesterday, Dr. D. Nath, on the material resource preservation and how we are going to maintain, how are we maintaining, that becomes central to the whole protection. So the protection, the identity is in the island, but the protection is required at various levels, within the island, outside the island, and as a overall island, around the island, nearer to the island, as defined by Professor Nalini Thakur on the buffer zone, but was for the first time that was defined. So I fundamentally, as an idea of cultural landscape, I did not differ in terms of the dossier did not differ anything from the 2006 nomination, but the additional information which was sought in 2006 and 2008 was addressed so that the current status during 2011 and 12 could be addressed and presented to UNESCO. As mentioned, prior to 2004, it was initially started by World Wildlife Fund, also has commenced its recognition process and protection process, and Award Northeast during Sanjay Ghosh time, which mooted this idea, and MIPADC has projected this as a geographical region, natural geographical region for heritage recognition. And 2004, when this was presented in 28th Annual World Heritage Committee and in China, this was accepted under cultural category, that was under the theme of cultural landscape. So it is mainly to important to acknowledge this conceptual fundamental shift, giving heritage and of the site, getting and acknowledgement worldwide under cultural landscape category. Especially in India, getting this kind of recognition is very much unique, and which requires protection and maintenance for future. Because we had been thinking that only monuments present this value of outstanding universal value. But looking at this site study in 2004 and 6 by Professor Nalini Thakur and Surajit from his academic also has proved that. And 2004 there was a it was presented as mentioned by, did not have which had resulted in some kind of a referral points which were sorry, the 7 points formation, and after 2000 they also to system enacted, and it became an act in 2006. But when it was presented in 32nd Annual Convention, Quebec, Canada, 2008, with additional information of these 7 points, it was deferred with new points for consideration. So they mentioned assembling a complete inventory of 31 surviving satras, preliminary to considering satras as might have the potential to demonstrate OUV, and undertaking the appraisal of the overall river basin in Majuli, in which Majuli lies. Appraised at a later point. So in 2011 and 12, these have been addressed, both 2006 and 2008, preparing the nomination dossier. One important point that is to be mentioned is 2009, there was this publication of D. Nath, the Island Society, Economy and Culture was published. This is a significant history of Majuli, and even the later Satra as a and as a physical presence, most important habitat become important to define the contemporary publication. And there was also 2011 this comprehensive plan for Majuli Cultural Landscape Authority. There were several publications that came up, and all these publications, and mainly the identification of the site as perceived locally. So what is perceived by people? So that is used as the criteria for selection by World Heritage Committee, which was already defined by Surajit Jaradhara. Protection and conservation is what is going to be protected. If this is the identity, what is going to be protected? Cultural resource is going to be protected, conserved, natural resource, ecology, biodiversity, acoustics, and cultural ecology. So that means when we are saying cultural, natural, and intangible, all these include. They cannot be just separated, as pointed out by Professor D. Nath yesterday. Whether we are submitting, one can approach UNESCO in various directions. One can do intangible heritage. There is a potential for this site, but at the same time, one cannot separate. And that is the reason we have this criteria 1, this 2, 3, 5, and 6. 6, which acknowledges this intangible connect to all the cultural and natural aspects. But the management of the site depends on converging moduli protection and conservation by all the related departments, and it has to include all stakeholders, participatory method for overall consent of inclusive and network oriented method for all inclusive consent. About 6 documents were submitted: executive summary, nomination dossier, annexure of the dossier, annexure to the volume, which required inventory of satras. So all the 31 satras were physically visited, and the inventory was prepared. Majuli management plan, because this unique site is different from monuments. It demanded mainly the presentation of maps and drawings as a main important document, because they were looking at the overall river basin. They were looking at a larger geographical region. So it is fundamentally a geographical system, knowledge system is required to be addressed when we are talking about floods and river basin, because it is a larger region, and bridges, the Bogibeel Bridge was still under construction, though it has been partially was inaugurated at that point of time in the recent times by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So that was still under construction that time, during that time, and that was still in the identification of 2006, that was still in the conceptual level. So they said what would be the impact of these kind of proposed bridges. Now there is on the northern side, we have Luit and Subansiri. There are 2 bridges recently planned. So the geographical maps and drawings are going to play a major role in convincing and in managing these sites technically. So these were the 6 documents submitted with 1250 pages during 2012. So this cover page clearly shows what are the criteria. Criteria 2, as I said, criteria 2, 3, 5, and 6. Criteria 2 is cultural diversity. Criteria 3 is how the landscape is having impact of civilizational and historical shift in the region. And another criteria is land use of agricultural and occupational. So the same illustration, the conceptual illustration prepared by Professor Nalini Thakur and Surajit Jaradhara as a fundamental theme, how a small Shangar, Mishings, and Morong, those habitations have given rise to the other construction systems later in a modified form in historical shift, because Srimanta Shankar Deva also had adopted from the local community and local systems, so local knowledge systems. That was very much part of the cultural systems advocated by Srimanta Shankar Deva. So that was very much visible in be it a celibate satra, monkhood satras, or non-monkhood satras, the non-celibate satras. Both the layouts could be seen, so which can be presented more convincingly with the geographical drawings. So that is the reason you have this larger region, Nadi Dweep, the river island, Majuli, and small immediate cultural landscape with water bodies, with whether it is beels, Noi, or small streams of this Majuli island, and the layout of Satra. For example, this Dakhimpa Satra layout is shown, and how this island connection to the river life and boat has a connection in Falnam festival, which is used during the festival, has been used as the cover page of the dossier. This was later the same remote sensing maps were again indexed with the help of National Remote Sensing Center once again in 2012. After 2004, what was done earlier was again got modified because there had been changes of small shifts of the river course, and which is a phenomenal which is a phenomena of Brahmaputra river. The sandbars and chars, Chaporis formation is a natural phenomena in the Brahmaputra river. So that because of that, additional information was collected from National Remote Sensing Center. This was presented. So I'm presenting some of the pictures of the site, agricultural forest, fields, and during the same time, during 2011, what we had taken. Salmora Paturi village. The Majuli Cultural Landscape Act very much recognizes these tribal settlements and Satra settlements, the occupational villages, all this put together as an island with the population of 150,000, then now 2 lakh population, as pointed out by Dr. Ananda Hazarika. As you would see, the Satra layout itself is an influence of the traditional vernacular architecture from unmarried monkhood in a more geometrical and organized, whereas married monkhood and organic formation, except the Namghar and Satradhikar's residents, and the entire material is ecologically created, and the natural systems formation of vernacular architectural systems were followed.
Murthy sir?
Yeah.
So you have to wrap up quickly because we are already exceeding time.
So these are some of the images. All the 31 satras were visited, and they have been captured. As you would see, larger of the Satra landscape and closer view of the Satra landscape had been documented. And hydrologic type and beels is a significant feature of this island, the geographical feature. So this has been documented, which is a 2008 observation. And this first time this Makuma Moza map was also created. The same boundaries of core zone and buffer zone were created. Unfortunately, what had happened in Archaeological Survey of India in 2012 was instead of submitting 4 copies, they had submitted only 2 copies. This letter clearly shows, which pointed out that in one of the copies, why 2 copies were submitted was asked by UNESCO. So these kind of simple clerical mistakes have led to the whole problem of discontinuity of this. And yesterday, the surprising news was by Additional Secretary when she had presented. She mentioned that already it is in preparation. Already it had been submitted to World Heritage Committee. So, but it is very, it appeared like a secret affair completely. Though it is a confidential activity, but it need not be a secret affair. It can be a transparent affair. It can be a consultative and participatory affair. That is what I would like to point out. And with this, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Murthy sir. It was actually a very enlightening presentation. Now moving over to our last speaker, I would like to introduce him. His name is Dr. Debajit Saikia, and he is currently the principal of Majuli College, who is also a student of Assamese poetry and literature. He has done his matriculation in economics from Debajit University in 1997. He has also received his doctorate from the same university in 2005. He is a very renowned poet and also have written several books on economics for graduate level. He has also received Ram Gogoi Award in 2010 for All Assam Kavi Sammelan and also the Sahitya Jyoti Award in 2014 of the Lakhimpur Natun Sur Prakshanan Parishad. I'd like to welcome Dr. Debajit Saikia to present his topic on overview of the event from the ground. Dr. Saikia.
Thank you very much. Good evening. First of all, on behalf of the Majuli College fraternity and also on behalf of the Highlanders, express my deep sense of thankfulness to the office bearers of ICOMOS Indian chapter, particularly to Srijut Dilip Sankakoti ji and Dr. S.K. Borkakoti ji for their effort to focus Majuli, and also for giving our college fraternity, Majuli College fraternity, the chance of collaborating this webinar. During the 2 days deliberations, it has been highlighted that Majuli is the biggest freshwater and most populous river island. With its around 2 lakh population, Majuli remains the largest pollution-free island in the world. The contribution of the Hotro institution of Majuli in particular to the field of culture, religion, and literature are definitely worth mentioning. The activities performed by the immense of the Hotros, which include Nam Prohanga, Sorit Path, Bhagavat Path, etc. The Bhavna is another distinctive component of the rich heritage of Vaishnavite culture in Assam. Gayon Bayan and Hotriya dance is the major elements of Bhavna are taught and rehearsed regularly in the Hotros. Among the different festivals celebrated in the Hotros of Majuli, Rakh Lila, Palnam, Guru Kirtan, Janmashtami, Phalgu Utsav, or Phakua are noteworthy. Rakh Lila and Palnam are 2 major festivals celebrated in Majuli Island. During these two festivals, actually Majuli wears a festive look. Rah festival is celebrated on about 60 different pandals, 60 different stages at various corners of Majuli, including some hotras. The Rah festival of Uttar Kamalabari Hotra, Goromur Hotra, Dokhinpat Hotra, Kamalabari Hotra, Samoguri Hotra, Hupur Hotra, etc. is of special importance, special significance. The 7-day-long Palnam, celebrated particularly in Auniati Hotra and Goromur Hotra, is also another important and attractive cultural as well as religious festival. The Hotras of Majuli are the center for transmission and preservation of Hotriya songs like Borgit, Onkor Git, Janmashtami Git, Rah Lilar Git, Guru Bandana, Nam Kirtan, etc., which are the unique system of Vaishnavite music, which was introduced mainly by Shankardeva and his disciples. The religious Dhamma, known as Bhavna, introduced by Mahapurush Shankardev, are still performed in these hotras with equal pomp, gaiety, and with a sense of deep spiritual devotion. We have some form of dances like Putrodhar Nitya, Gohai Pobeshor Nas, Notua Nas, Opsara Nas, Sali Nitya, Zumura Nitya, etc., which are the richest contribution of the hotras of Majuli towards Assamese culture. These are the abode of sculpture, carpentry, painting, and handicrafts. The rare manuscripts that is made of hasi and tula parts written in the hotras are the storehouse of knowledge on culture, literature, history, medicine, etc. The books were written in the bark of hasi tree, such as Sri Hasta Muktavali, Hasti Vidyanava, Sitta Bhagavat, Gunamala, etc., are some monumental books which are rare otherwise. The artists of Notun Samaguri have their unique expertise in making various form of masks and statues. Majuli is an example of composite cultural heritage among the different communities living in Majuli. Mention may be made of Misings, the Deuris, the Honwal Korsaris, and the Maya Morias. All these communities have rich cultural and religious practices of their own. As for instance, the Misings observe Ali Ali Gan, Dobur, Pohrag, Norasiga Bihu, etc. The Deuri celebrate Bihu. This is called Bishu, Metua Puja, Deodhani Nitya, and the Honwal Kosaris observe Baitho Puja with traditional gaiety. The Mridangya Gayan by Nitya of the Maya Morias of Majuli in particular is very, very attractive. The island is rich in biodiversity. Majuli is a suitable habitat of different kinds of wild birds, animals, aquatic or terrestrial insects. it has been estimated that in this island, there are more than 110 bird species and subspecies, more than 20 different kinds of mammals, more than 100 types of fishes, thousands of insects, and lizard forms. Various kinds of wild plants, medicinal plants are also available in this island, which specifies the abundant biodiversity in Majuli. It has rightly been said that Majuli is one of the few places which is endowed with a beautiful landscape in view of the unique geographical location, natural environment, pollution-free environment, cultural richness, as well as rich biodiversity. The people are demanding that Majuli should be recognized as a World Heritage Site. If this demand is materialized, it will go a long way in protecting and in providing the hotros, in preserving the hotros, which are the honeycomb of Assamese culture. This is my presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, since we are coming to the end of this session, I would like to thank all the speakers for their efforts in making this webinar so successful. And now I would like to open the question answer session, and to chair the session of question answer, I would like to request Mr. Satish Kumar sir to kindly chair the question and answer session.
Hi, thank you very much, Rana Saab, Namaskar, and Suryamurthy Saab, Namaskar ji. I'm speaking from Techno India University. I'm here to give a lecture at 4. So I'm running a bit short of time. But what I want to do is, I don't know how long your question answer session is. My students are waiting. So if you let me know how much time I have, then I can work around it. I'm happy to give some observations, and then I'm sure Rana Saab will be able to pick up my batch and then run with it. Namaskar, Nalini ji.
So, sir, probably in this case, you can start with your observation and then you can leave and we can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Others.
Thank you. Thank you. So in terms of the, I mean, I was really happy to see the range of papers that were presented today, and really grateful for the opportunity to listen to the different perspectives from the people in Majuli itself, and from Suryanarayana Murthy ji as well, in terms of the challenges, in terms of the World Heritage nomination. One of the big challenges that I've mentioned previously is the fact that World Heritage nominations are highly political and highly politicized because of the fact that it all depends on who is sitting on the table making those decisions. I have been involved with the Liverpool denomination issues. We have been working on to understand about Dresden and Liverpool. And I think we have to be very clear about 2 points that I want to raise. One is Majuli as a natural area of natural beauty, and Majuli as a site for cultural heritage, unique cultural heritage. So these are 2 elements which are very important to recognize. So how do you make a distinction between Majuli as an area of natural beauty and Majuli as a site for of ancient historical heritage? Sometimes when you make nominations, if these 2 messages are not clearly defined, then it gets the way we respond to those questions becomes quite problematic. I have seen that sometimes if you are able to stay with one perspective, either the cultural heritage landscape perspective or the natural heritage landscape perspective, then you have a much better chance of success. Conflating the 2 is always a problem in terms of the World Heritage size sort of nomenclature. So those are a few things which are quite important to recognize. The second point is about involving the community. Involving the community, what we call subsidiarity. Involving the community in decision-making process is very important towards preservation and conservation of their heritage. And that is really one big problem and challenge that we have. So how do we look at the fact that people have a voice? People in Majuli have a voice regarding issues of development, regarding issues of cultural heritage preservation, etc. Those are 2 or 3 key points that I wanted to emphasize. And managing the cultural heritage landscape, protecting and securing natural and public spaces for interaction towards maintaining the continuity of life is very important. So conservation also leads to commodification, which must be avoided at all costs in order to preserve the values of the cultural and social capital in Majuli. And I think that for me is really important, that we need to be mindful about it, because questions that will be asked in the committee, as Nalini ji and others know, is again, how do you protect this site from degradation? So how do you also protect the sites from overdevelopment? Thank you very much. I'll leave it at that point. Just a few questions that I thought I can raise for you.
Thank you so much for your valuable comments, sir. Now, I would like to request other people also to raise the questions and to make this question answer session effective. Any questions?
I just have one observation to make. I think as part of a follow-up of webinar, we need to take this forward and also find out the actual status and maybe at the ground level in Assam through ICOMOS India, and also we should make government to act in a responsible manner, being transparent and being consultative with all the groups which had been working since 20-25 years, like MIPADC and several people and people of the place. They should know what is happening. I think it should move towards that kind of an approach. That is my observation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Surya sir, for your valuable comments. I would also like to request Professor Rana sir, because we missed you in the beginning, if you have any comments.
It is not comment, but my general observation, also involving several this UNESCO site and other things. The first thing is that as far as I know, I may be completely wrong. I have not seen any research paper which will directly talk how to get Majuli inscribed into UNESCO list. For example, in case of Banaras, before we start all this movement, before we start all this movement in case of Banaras, already 3 research papers we have published in the international journals, why to put Banaras Ghats in the UNESCO site. So we have many books, papers, etc. But to concentrate on this thing, what earlier Thakur has already very clearly said, that is specific type of cultural landscape and how Majuli is fitting into this. The second thing is what Satish Kumar ji has already said, very clear cut, this is the way that we can move. Then third aspect is what earlier I have already mentioned, there should be something annotated, highlighted bibliography on Majuli that many people ask there. This is the thing we have to think over that. The other thing is that already so much work done, started during last 10-15 years. Whether in that perspective, I am not talking specific research perspective, but the perspective of UNESCO, and to put that, like we have released a book, Banaras City Revealed, George Mitchell and myself, for that particular purpose. So we should have some book so that we can have the pressure from different angles. That is the point I have already raised. One more point is this. This is technical point. The point is, it is nothing directly written, but it is already International Union of Conservation of Nature or ICOMOS International. They always talk what you have done. Whether you have selected some particular site as a model, our site to do something on the whole ground of preservation, conservation, revival, so that you can say it, proof it what you have done. That is another point that indirectly many experts, I could not cite the name, some of the very senior experts, always they talk like this. That is very important issue in that way. One last point, these are all my observations, nothing like comment. This I felt I am sharing with you. Another point when you are talking about all these legal things, the first important thing is that whether Assam government legally passed through the assembly what is called heritage law. If yes, then you can put that copy, and then that law should have very clear-cut indication of 2 points. The one point in master plan, and in the master plan, how Majuli is going to be represented, one, and the second aspect, how Majuli is going to be independent. Because that legal issue we have faced in case of Banaras. So you know that. And then ultimately that has been finished. And the last thing is that you have to know that till 2024, nothing is going to be submitted from India side. Already 4 are in the list, and the UNESCO has decided not to accept more than 2. So that way you have to make such a pressure in 1 year that all the aspects to be considered like this. So it started from the theoretical perspective of Nalini Thakurji, then from the legal, then from the publication, and then finally you can say, here is the overall perspective, and that published paper, research paper. It is not popular magazine. No. Research paper, and that we can distribute. We have distributed it to 500 places. There is a publication. What do you want? And still that has not been done. So that is the experience I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable observations given. And now I would also like to request others, if they want to have any question or they want to put their observation in front of others, they can do individually. So I hope there are no further question on this
Then
or any comments.
I have one very humble request, academic request, if allowed. It is
Sure,
okay?
sir. Sure, sir.
Okay. So here are all these great personalities, Dilipji, Sanjeevji, my good friend and collaborator, Suryanarayana, who is Shuri and Narayan both. So that is, he is Hanuman and Jamwant both, for me at least. Okay. And Satish, my old friend, student, and like younger brother, Nalini, our master. Why I am saying this? Because this is my very humble request. Simple thing is you have to take lead on, you can decide how, a research paper which may critically examine, it is nothing like whole thing, story like this, very critically taking all those 3 or 4 norms we are going to adopt, and then that should be published in an international journal. For publication of international journal, I can say by chance, until 2nd year, I am in the board of the International Journal of Architectural Engineering, published by the government of Italy. And this is a well-recognized journal, well-indexed journal. So they are going to have today the meeting in the room, and indirectly just now I received a message that Ranaji, you have to take some lead for a good article from India. So this is just my humble prayer to all of you, and a special request to Nalini, because she is our Durga and Kali both. Durga in terms of blessing, Kali in the sense sometimes just picking us, giving something stick. She is very hard. You all know that. Okay, thank you.
Any more comments or anybody has any question? Okay, I would like to now request Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Barkakoti sir to give the vote of thanks. Sanjeev sir, you are on mute.
Thank you, Anju. We had a very successful 2-day webinar where all the stakeholders of Majuli attended enthusiastically, which has not happened before. So this is milestone we have achieved. We are grateful to all the esteemed resource persons as well as the members of the organizing committee who made this webinar on Majuli grand success. Our thanks go to the Secretary of ICOMOS India, Nalini Dasgupta, the prime mover of this event, Dilip Chankakoti, the representative from Northeast Zone, the anchors of 2 days, event Tiuso and Anjumani Kalita, and the members of the NSC Theophilos, NSC ICH, NSC CL, EPWG, as well as our collaborator, Majuli College. We're grateful to Government of Assam also for their participation. We're thankful to our speakers, Janardhan Deva Goswami, Professor Dambarudhar Nath, Bharat Chandra Saikia, Manideepa Barkataki, Professor Nalini Thakur, Dr. Ananda Hazarika, Dr. Arun Sarma, Suryanarayana Murthy, Dr. Debajit Saikia, and for the experts' comments, Dr. Satish Kumar and Rana P.V. Singh. I myself also was one of the speakers for the record. We're also grateful to Professor Arun Menon, Simran Deshpande, Subhru Gupta, Kritika Mohan, Monalisa Bhardwaj, Dr. Nalini Atre, Ira Godial, Rahul Bhalla for their back end support in planning this webinar. The technical team of ICOMOS also deserves our special thanks. Our heartiest thanks also go to the great audience who made this webinar successful with their vibrant presence. We hope the deliberations in this webinar will go a long way in making the dream about having Majuli inscribed as a World Heritage reality. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now with this, I would like to declare the end of the session. Before we end, Dilip sir, would you like to say anything? Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us.